It's a hard world to get a break in, and the good things have been taken. But girl, there are ways to make certain things pay. Oh, I'm dressed in these rags, I will sable someday. Hear what I say, I'm gonna ride the serpent. No more time spent sweater rent, hear my command. I'm breaking loose, it ain't no use. Be down, stick around. But baby, remember, it's my life, and I'll do what I want. It's my life, and I'll think what I want. Show me I'm wrong, have me some time, but someday you treat me real fine. Now there'll be women and a fortune who just want to mother orphans. Are you gonna cry when I'm squeezing them dry, taking all I can get, no regrets? When I open the line, I love the money. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, citizens of planet Earth and beyond, stretching far into the galaxies, as far as the eye and the imagination can take us. Welcome to the Pork and Bean Show, starring Pork Cunningham and Frank Oliver Beans. We're going to introduce you to new thoughts, put questions in your head, and perhaps have you consider things you've never thought about before. Where the paranormal becomes the normal, where unreal becomes real, and where love is everything. Fasten your seatbelts and enjoy the ride.
10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, I pushed it.
No, wait.
No. I pushed it.
Well, I told you to wait. I don't know why you just was so impulsive.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Pork Cunningham, and this is my distinguished, honorable, astute co-host, except I don't like the word co because he's not co-anything. He's solid to the core.
I'm not sure I like the word host. You're a host of what? Pestilence?
Well, yeah, I mean, host can be a bad word, right? If you have a host attached to you or something, I mean, it depends on what context you're saying it in.
Sasquatch that's friends with me, he did the same kind of a energy transference. When you go to receive the knowledge of God, it's sort of like if you can imagine pouring water, tap water, like into your head. But it's just pure energy. And that energy goes into your head and goes down into your body. and it's a certain frequency, it's a certain feeling, and that's what you meditate on. You meditate on that frequency that was brought. It's because we have all this energy inside of us. So there's heart energy, thought energy, all this kind of energy, life energy, all this kind of stuff. And it's really, we don't know what to meditate on inside of us. You know what I mean? It has to do with what keeps your heart pumping and what keeps your breath going. That's why everybody does breath work. But the energy that makes the breath move in and out, the energy that makes the heart move and pump, is that life force. When you connect to that life force, then you can make it grow by focus. It's just pure focus, and not even intention, because you can't really intend anything. It's sort of like you can't really intend the weather. It's just going to come when it comes.
Yeah. That's interesting what you were saying about like it flowing in, the energy and whatever, because so much collaborative stuff, from experiences that people who have had these experiences share or whatever. And, like a lot of the stuff you said, I mean, I can relate to, like even with these guru guys, like on a, like not on a permanent level, but just on a, like a taste, like a little, maybe a precursor or something somewhere down the road or many lives down the road. But anyway, a precursor of that kind of thing, right?
So the point is because I've had that experience of what that life energy is all about. If I knew Christ was alive today, I would crawl on my hands and knees through a desert of glass to go see that guy. Okay?
Yeah.
Because I know what that means to be the master of light, to be the son of that light. The light is the Father, and we are the child of that light. So, the thing of he taught was I and my Father are one, and I and my brother are one. That's also what the Sasquatch teach. They teach we are all one, and there is no space. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, all the lessons, that I've learned, I mean, they taught me about no time, no space, all one, all connected. It's a universal teaching.
Yeah.
The thing I was going to mention, what you were talking about is, that energy coming in, like, other than that love zap. I mean, I remember one time walking through the forest and I could literally feel the energy coming in with a big beam right in through the top of my head, and it was tickling, and it was like so obvious, like it was a big download of information. So
yeah, that. And if you had come from a culture where they value that, then you would have like walked a few places. You walk someplace where you could sit down and start meditating on that. Because when you meditate on that, that's when it grows and it cooks and it saturates, and you get it into your body and stuff. But we don't come from a culture that values that kind. We have no understanding about what that energy is, and when it happens, we just take it as a one-off kind of a thing. Oh wow, that was amazing, and oh, that touched my heart. But the thing is, if you sat down and locked into it, devoted all your attention to it, focused on it, allowed it to happen, felt what was going on, felt where it was, what it was, that anchors it in. Because this stuff, the energy is, here's the thing, we have this life force in us already. So it is such a rare thing when you have an elevation of energy or a distinct, something distinctly happen to you, like your heart opens, or you get a download, or like you said, this energy comes to you. If we don't know that's like vitally important, that you just focus on that, because that is a gift, a grace, a blessing. I can't even talk enough about how fabulous it is to have those hints of what is beyond and within. You know what I mean? It's beyond, but it's within.
Well, you come out of those with a greater knowledge. It may not be like you just know more, you just know stuff, and it's and I also think that I've often thought too that it's kind of like they put this in your library or your memory bank or whatever, and then as you need some of this stuff, as you're moving forward, you can pull it out or whatever. It's there for you when you need it, kind of. I've often kind of looked at it like that, but yeah, when you just have a just a general sense of a knowing, when something like that happens. Pretty
Well,
profound stuff.
if you're a sensitive person, you can tell whether you're in your heart or not. When your head, well, most in our head, and it's like a little ping pong, little squirrels playing ping pong in your head, But then there are times when you drop down into your heart, and this is what the Sasquatch teach. This is what the Sasquatch energy is. Their energy is the heart energy, and when they are dropped down into their heart energy, and they amplify it until they turn their body into light, and then they can disappear. And this is like, in terms of yogic, it's really high up there. You know what I mean? There's a lot of enlightened men who can't do that. This is like a yogic skill that they have, that they turn their life force up in their heart so loudly, so brightly, that it saturates their whole body, and then they actually can disappear, or they can collapse their whole body into a ball of light. Like you said, you've seen them that way before, which is also a teaching. If you don't understand how high they are, it doesn't impact us. We just say a ball of light, and we go, oh, that's a wild thing. I've never seen that before. That's a ball of light. You don't realize that there's a whole being there that has turned themselves into light, and you're looking at like an act of God there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
People don't, that's what I'm saying. We're so far distant from the truth of who we are that when we see a light being as a ball of light, we don't recognize that as like a holy thing. We think that's just a phenomenon. We think, oh, well, that's a swamp gas or something, or that's some kind of electrical something going on in the woods. You don't think of it as a being that is so full of God's light that they can transform their whole energy into a ball of light and move around. You know what I mean? That's
right.
We got to stop looking at the Sasquatch as, they are physical, 100% physical. All the ones that people interact with, they're physical. And God and Jesus was physical. Buddha was physical, but that's not all he was. He had that God light inside of him, and he could go invisible, and the Sasquatch can go invisible. Yeah. So
yeah, the Sasquatch
the
is so evolved.
to really understand Sasquatch, you have to be able to deal with the physical side of them and all the things that they do and the traits that everybody's researching. But if you're not looking at their spiritual side, you completely miss the plot.
Yeah, the way they teach is phenomenal. Like, for instance, the way they started getting me thinking about time. First of all, they'll put the thought in your head, like something going on with time. They manipulate time, and then they start giving you examples of it, kind of thing, and one of the best ones was, I remember I came upon this glyph, and it was a really amazing looking glyph. I didn't understand the significance of it at the time, but looking back, I did. But anyway, I'm standing there, and then all of a sudden I look to my left, I look back, and it's completely changed. And then I came back shortly after that, and it was completely changed again. And what they were teaching me is, I figured out later on that there was one piece in the glyph that was the main piece that was changed, and it was almost like it was a hand of a clock. It was like at 6 o'clock. 8 o'clock or whatever, and then 11 o'clock or something. So it was like they were changing the hands of the time. And the other part of it is they changed it right in front of me to show me that the lesson that time does not exist, kind of thing. I put it together, right? You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, and
So,
that's another teaching, you know, because once you go into that light, then that light is the source of everything, including time. And that's like hard for people to wrap their head around. Once you go into that, you can go forward and backward in time fairly easily.
I mean,
But
I don't know.
That's a teaching, you know, without words, that was a teaching. So you have to think, how could they do it? And you come to the understanding, oh, that they went forward and backward in time.
Right.
And then you have to carry that even further. Who are they that can go forward and backward in time just to move a stick to teach you? Who are they? You know what I'm saying? What kind of a being does that? What kind of a being? You know what I'm saying? Unless you have some kind of an actual practical experience of what a real high human being is, how could you ever understand what's going on in front of you with divine energy, with divine truths being given to you?
Yeah,
You know?
they'll leave you something 5 years ago, knowing that when you look at it today, you'll look at it and say, "Oh my God, you have a better, different understanding." They already know you're gonna come to that understanding. You know what I mean? I've seen that so many times with my clubs or
What can
whatever.
you
That
say
speaks
about
to that
people?
too.
What can you say about people like that? We're fortunate to have friends, to have them as friends. You know, the other
Absolutely.
thing, you and I talked about this, is that I'm not taken away from the people who are having a hard time with Sasquatch. That, you know, the Sasquatch messing with their livestock and banging on the windows and all these kind of things that people talk about. I'm not taking that away from anybody, and I'm not saying that all Sasquatch are high holy men. I'm not saying that. You know, there's others. Everybody who's having an experience of Sasquatch, that's real and true. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that Sasquatch are all good beings, or they're all pure. I'm not saying that either. Because I don't really know. All I do know is that some Sasquatch are really, really high beings. I'm talking about archangel class heart spirits, you know?
Hmm.
And but I don't know, you know, just like human beings, like we have a guru class people on this planet, a teacher, enlightened teachers, and there's millions of them. You know, every country has their saints and sages and holy men, and but then the rest of the humanity is fussing and fighting and, you know, greed and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know if that applies to Sasquatch or not. I have no idea because I don't know
Not
all
see,
Sasquatch.
not all some Sasquatch look more ape-like. Some look more human-like. Some are more evolved, like the ancient ones or whatever. And plus, you know, because they are mostly human. I mean, the female mitochondrial, I believe, is the DNA. I think it's mitochondrial is the female. I'm not science type, but is all female. I mean, they're being human or mostly human, with different experiences interacting with humans and just, you know, I mean, different regions, different circumstances, the way people interact with them. Some of them probably just don't want to interact with people, or they may not have the capabilities that some of them have to interact on the same level. So there's all that could come into play, right?
There's an
Yeah.
infinite amount of things that can come into play.
I mean, just simple respect for them is one thing.
Up to and including that some of the Sasquatch could feel infringed upon, have resentment for. They want their woods back. You know, there's all of that. Just think of it like in terms of the American Indians. There was a lot of peaceful Indians, and then there was a lot of Indians who were very aggressive. So, you know, and I can't speak to any of that. I have to take everything that I hear from the people who have reports of Sasquatch as true. You know, if somebody says they're terrified, then that's true for them. You know, and if somebody says they got run out of their house or something, had to sell their house because of this, that's true for them. I'll just leave them and let that be on the table, you know.
Yeah,
From
and you
my
know what?
experience,
And I can't discredit that. And like I said, different clans, different tribes, they'll want to interact with people for different reasons, based on a bunch of different variables. But I wonder, you know, like if, and I'm not saying that this is how it would be, and it may not be, but I suspect it would be. But if those people that were having those interactions with them banging on their doors and doing some of this stuff, now I'm not talking about killing dogs and some of that violent stuff that is obviously way over the line, but why did they get there is another thing. But if when they were doing these initial things, if the person had have approached it like with wonderment from their heart, with acceptance and not fearing it, things would have developed probably much different.
I agree. There is the human reaction.
You know what I
Is
mean?
one thing.
Yeah, I mean,
What I would suggest, if anybody's having some real serious problems with Sasquatch or with dogmen, right? There's dogmen part of the play. That's part of what's going on. Dogmen are coming up now. If anybody has a problem with those, with that clan, or they're messing with their livestock or any kind of stuff, is to get yourself the best animal communicator, the best psychic that you can. Get a good, solid psychic who can connect to these beings, and then make a peace treaty. You know, because if not, it's going to turn out bad for the humans. But if you can make a peace treaty, like give them what they want, their space, or give them some respect, and make an agreement. You know,
mhm.
A lot of what you're saying is like the banging on the house, throwing rocks and stuff. They might just want agreements. They just want to be acknowledged. That could be part of it. Another part of it is they could have seen, you know, they don't want you shooting your rifles around their children, you know, or whatever. There's a lot of reasons that it could be. So I'm not trying to figure it all out. I don't think you can figure it out. But if you're having troubles, get yourself a real qualified psychic to go in there and talk to them and make an agreement, because they just want to be treated like humans.
I'll give you an example that might probably speaks to this and might be part of the answer to it. Like I said, I was called to the woods, so they already wanted me to go up there. I got that call, go to the mountains, and then I started meeting all the people that connected me into them or whatever. But you know, right from day one, I started having interactions with them, with my friend Randy Brisson, when we went out. But my point is that I think they test people's mettle. They test to see if you're going to be afraid or how you're going to react. And the reason I say that is, you know, Randy told me that as well, and that happened to me too. Because the first major interaction that I ever had with him when Randy wasn't with me was I was looking at a big tree structure with these big trees that were all crossed up. There was about 6 of them, and it was a really beautiful Sasquatch structure. And I was just there looking at it to see if they had brought the piece and, you know, or if they had just been pushed over or something. So I went back to see with this big structure if they had just pushed things over, if they had actually carried the pieces in, which was the case, that they had done some of them like that. But I was just actually investigating it because a friend of mine asked me to. I've never really been one to investigate. I just kind of, I don't know. I investigate them. I want to find out about them and what they had to teach more than, it's a fine line. Anyway. But I wouldn't call myself an investigator. But anyway, I was still there checking it out to see if they had done it. So where's your picture? Okay. So on there, actually, I had my camera out, and I'm kind of bent over, looking down at one of the logs to see if it was placed there or pushed over or whatever. And all of a sudden, I got this feeling in my head like I couldn't explain. And I guess I've had it many times since, but it was like that scan, or it was just a feeling that was foreign to me because I'd never had it to that point. But I just knew there's something going on in my head that was odd and very distinct, and that was unusual, that I had never experienced before. And then all of a sudden, I heard a big crash, like an audible crash, and it sounded like two semis colliding in the middle of the woods, like head on, like bang, crash, and that loud. I mean, as loud as the description. And I jumped right straight up in the air. My glasses flew off. It was quite shocking when you hear like a head-on collision in the middle of the woods. There's nobody around for miles. And so, but I just said, that was funny, guys, and it didn't really stir me. I just kind of stood my ground. And, that was like testing my mettle. That they're always testing your fear level, I think, or whatever. So a lot of this stuff is, they'll introduce themselves to you, but they're going to see, are these people, what's their fear level? Can we even talk to them? Because if I had ran away and never come back, I don't know if that would have been the end of it. No, I'm not saying it would have been. I don't think so, but it would have impeded my progress. That's for sure.
I agree.
Yeah. So.
Well, when I talk about the Sasquatch being his archangel earth spirits, right? You got to think that these archangels, they're like they carry swords. They can lay the earth to waste. They can pestilence and fire and brimstone. That's also part of what it means. Just because you can't stereotype and say, oh, these are high beings, so they're going to be all kind and loving. No, they can, if they've got a reason to, they can lay your soul to waste. You know what I mean? Because, and there's a lot of people who've had that they've gotten mixed up with something going on, and they get PTSD and all this kind of stuff. And who knows? Maybe that's what they needed, or maybe it's just a bad hair day for the Sasquatch. I don't know. Well, the dogmen are doing the same kind of stuff. They will test you, and that's kind of like one of their roles that they do, is to test your fear factor. But if you don't react with fear, and then it opens the door for them to be friends. So they're either going to be friends with you, or they're going to be the top dog, and pee all over your property.
Right. No, there's something to that for sure. Because I experienced it, and Randy Brisson said that it's common. They test your mettle for sure, and then another test was when I went and stayed out, 6 or 7 miles out in the bush, like all by myself all night, whatever, like just around a campfire. Like that was another step. But they don't really approach you in a state of fear, so, or at least only to a certain point. So.